Namaste, my beautiful friends. I am Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of June the 30th, 2025. So we have our last day of June. We initiate the astrology of July 2025, and it is a massive month. It's interesting in that there are a lot of outer planet movements. We have Uranus going into Gemini. We have both Neptune and Saturn pausing and moving backwards. And we want to keep in mind that these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto, all are creating this interesting configuration we would call a minor grand trine. This is rather rare, and it's not exact at this moment, but they're dancing in and out of this positive flow. Now, this is what gives me actually some great hope for the future. There are positive elements at play trying to escort us into the future, into a better vision for humanity. I do believe that that is true. And staying in alignment with that positive, more positive, beautiful vision is important. It's also not pleasant. There's a great song by Death Cab for Cutie. There's beauty in the breakdown. There's also a lot of breakdown happening and a lot of desperation and sadness and some of the shadows of Neptune and Saturn in Aries, that immaturity of Aries, the warlike, the violence is the answer energy that is low vibe Aries, instead of the optimistic, adventurous, and more bold and hopeful, why not energy of youthful enthusiasm. So it's kind of an interesting month. And my husband always says, is that interesting like astrology interesting? Which means it could be interesting but also difficult. Yeah, I don't know. I have my eyes on this month as being transformative. Now, another thing to really pay attention to for this whole month is the fact that there are massive moon voids. So if you're not sure what a moon void is, be sure to check out my moon void video. But moon voids are floaty, they're creative, things don't stick when they happen during moon voids, so you'll need to be attentive to that if you are making major decisions anytime this month. Signing a contract, starting a new business, initiating a new protocol or something like that. It's not going to have the full backing of the universe if it doesn't happen with the moon interacting with other planets. So let's hop into this week. Now, we're starting this week on the 30th with Mercury moving into the shadow zone of its retrograde at 4 degrees of Leo. Its entire retrograde season will be in Leo. It's going to actually retrograde on the 18th of this month of July. But the shadow begins on the 30th, and so all of our Mercury retrograde protocols come into play. We're more careful with our communication. We understand that we might be misunderstood. There might be some difficulties. Things don't get done on time. Things are, you've got to have to rethink, repair, renew, redo some things. So we're just aware of that. We also have, on that day, Mercury still in a bit of an opposition with Pluto, so there's still a little bit of a power dynamic here. Now we also have Sun and in Cancer in a nice configuration with Mars in Virgo. So there's a certain amount of oomph, emphasis, ability to move forward here. We intuit what we need to do, and then we can move forward with precision. Now, our first moon void of the month begins with bang on July the 2nd. It's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, so adjust it for your time zone, but it basically is retrograde void of course for 2 days. So it voids out at that time period, is void all day on the 3rd, and then on the 4th in the very early morning Eastern, 5:33 p.m. Eastern, it comes out of void. Now, the 4th is an intriguing day for sure. Now, even leading up to it, we have Venus in Taurus. Venus loves to be in Taurus. It's one of her favorite places. She's approaching Uranus. So she's getting ready for some shocking revelations, some sudden occurrences. This could bring issues with weather. This could bring issues with money and finance. That emphasis of the Venusian energy connecting with Uranus. And both of them will come to that anoretic, that final degree, 29, that push to completion. So as they do that, they're going to come together over that time period, and then she's going to slip into Gemini at 11:31 a.m. Eastern on the 4th. So when she moves out of that sign, that she's still going to be in that electrical contact, but all of a sudden all the information will start streaming in. She's in fact going to give us a little bit of a heads up of what that movement of Uranus into Gemini is going to bring, because all of a sudden she's multitasking, she's spending lots of time being social, she's maybe not being as honest or authentic as she could be because she's so busy being, you know, light and social and fun and flitting from thing to thing. So Venus and Gemini, completely different energy. So then the other thing that we really want to watch on the 4th is that is the day that Neptune will pause in the sky and begin to move backwards. That happens at 5:34 p.m. Eastern. So we're observing station points of Neptune often bring issues around water. So we're going to watch for storms, tsunamis, water leaks in your home. Make sure any emotionality that you have is being moved in appropriate ways, or otherwise it bottles up and expresses itself, you know, very strongly in some other way. We all know, you know, whether us personally or other people who in times of deep emotional stress or trouble have experienced a water leak or a pipe bursting or flooding or something like that in their basement or home. And so this is something to be observant about, but also because Neptune's in a fire sign, we're going to be more careful with fire and with heat and things of that nature. So we're going to observe the symbols around that Neptune pause and movement backwards. Now, I would say, I've been telling all my clients in my monthlies, you're going to want to look at these outer planet shifts in 3 layers. You're going to want to look at your personal symbolism, what happened to you that day, 24, 36 hours, a little bit before and quite a bit after the movement of the planet. Then we're going to look at the regional symbols, what's happening to the people around you, what's going on with the people at work, your friends, your family. And then we're going to look at global symbols, what's going on in the world, what's the heads up we're seeing here. Because remember, anytime a planet pauses and moves backwards, it's going to come back to this point. And often, especially with the slower moving planets, it really delivers the message of what it's about right around that station point. So the 4th, very pivotal day to keep an eye on. Then on the 6th, Venus, she's moved into Gemini. Well, as soon as she gets into Gemini, she's going to start sending really nice energy up to both Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Super creative, super adventurous, lots of ideas coming in, but do be aware of that retrograde cycle because it's a little destabilizing. All right. It also really sets up this minor grand trine. We've got Venus-Uranus sending lovely energy up to Saturn and Neptune, sending a nice beam of energy over to Pluto, that transformative force, change, evolution, revolution, right? Break things down, rebuild in a new way. Know where late Taurus, early Gemini, early Aries, late Pisces, and early Aquarius are for you, and look and see where that little magic triangle is lining up of evolution, change, and forward thinking movement. All right. And then I can't finish the week, even though, you know, these forecasts finish typically on Sundays. We must talk about the 7th because it's in the middle of the night, East Coast. I want to say it's 3:45 a.m. Eastern on the 7th. This is when Uranus will move into Gemini. This is huge. This is such a distinct change and difference. Now, it's only going to dip its big toe in there. It's going to get to 1 degree, and then it's going to retrograde. But we're looking at those symbols. Remember the 3 layers of symbols, your personal symbols, the people around you who impact your life, and then the global symbols. Uranus into Gemini is going to take technology. We think technology has been like going so fast. Oh my gosh, no. And think about this, you know, Uranus going to Gemini, that's an air sign. Pluto is in an air sign. When they connect, it's going to be just almost more than we can even conceive of. We have to kind of let our slow human mind step aside, learn to train the mind so that you don't get overwhelmed with all of this, because it could create a vortex of energy that just pulls you into the dream world, to the world that's only made of castles in the sky, in the mind, right? We're always going to have to work really hard to stay grounded in our material reality, in our beautiful island home, as they used to say in the Episcopal church service, our island home of Mother Earth. So In a positive way, I think Uranus and Gemini will create new ways to communicate and interact with people. It will amplify our creativity, and so wonderful ways to solve problems. It's also really going to cause people to press against restrictions of the mind, of our thoughts, of our speech, of our ability to communicate and share information, which I think there'll be a clamp down and a pushback that Uranus and Gemini will bring. But again, this is not until the 7th, but we're going to start watching those symbols build, and we're going to try to separate them out and be like, okay, what's the Neptune retrograde symbols? What are the Uranus movement into Gemini symbols? How do I see those? And realize that in some way they're harmonizing and connecting. How do I live my life in the context of that? So stick around for the Celtic Cross. I did it on the Neptune retrograde cycle. Pretty helpful, I think. And then be sure to check out the Isis Lotus Tarot spread that I posted yesterday. It really had two different ways of working with the energy that made me think that this is going to be a pretty busy week out in the world of things that we are going to need to adjust and adapt to. So I hope you find them useful and helpful. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for your support. Hop on the website. Always good information there for you. I hope you're signed up for my newsletter. And I wish you a marvelous week. Namaste. Stick around for the tarot. Bye. Hello, friends. Let's take a look at a Celtic Cross on this Neptune station. So Neptune stationing retrograde, just at 2 degrees of the sign of Aries. So very, still much in contact with Saturn, so it's pretty hard to separate those two energies, which are very different energies, right? Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, the ancient ruler of Aquarius. Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces, both in the fire sign of youth, Aries. So what is the message? What do we need to know about this Neptune station? Definitely could bring some weather-related events, war-related events, boldly going in the wrong direction. I like to call Neptune and Aries that. Just being so certain. The certainty of youth. Celtic Cross for the collective, please. Thank you. All right, first card is us, you, Queen of Wands. So we're just trying to take care of things, trying to stay steady, trying to be proactive. Yes, good idea. Judgment. There's some karma going down here. These are either major decisions that we are making or we are having to respond to the decisions of others. In the past, Knight of Wands. So this Neptune moving into the fire sign has caused some things to be propelled forward. There to be a lot of emotionality, the emotions of passion, of anger, of, just really fiery emotional responses. Future, more fire. This is going to initiate some kind of new beginning, Ace of Wands. Crowning thoughts, 8 of Wands. It feels like everything is happening so quickly. Subconscious, and it's stressful, 3 of Swords. No joke, right? Advice, 10 of Swords. Very interesting, especially if you watched the Isis Lotus Tarot spread for the week. This is one of the possible outcome cards. So this kind of dramatic failure or thing that does not work out, thing that feels like it's so sad, so desperate, so unfortunate, that actually creates a new beginning. It's actually a necessary thing. It's like a pruning of the tree, right? That restores health. Outside influence, 6 of Wands. So there's something here about not hiding anymore, about being more visible, about stepping up, about not being afraid to receive that adulation and attention. Boy, this is all very, very much Wands energy. All right. What do you want to happen? You don't know. Two of Swords. There's part of you that's just kind of like putting your head under the covers and saying, I really don't want to know too much. This is so stressful. There's so much going on. It feels like it's out of my control. We're going to 3-card this because this is not the influence that we want to have. Outcome. 4 of Swords. Prepare and pause. Be ready. So there might be some things that you need to take care of this week in order that this Neptune retrograde cycle, this movement of it, stationing, pausing, and moving backwards, makes you aware that there's some things that you need to do, but not yet. So you might have to get things in order, get things situated, but also then rest, restore. You have to be in a position of strength to respond to some of these things, right? So don't overdo it. Take some time. Reader's fan. Page of Wands, new beginnings. So again, we're just like getting all of the wand cards. 2 of Pentacles. So nothing too extreme, okay? Just keep it between the lines, please. 3 of Cups. Also lean into what you feel empowered by or positive about. This card was also featured in that Isis Lotus Tarot spread. Ooh, the Lovers. This is a nice little addition to this spread. So it's kind of like in the mix of all of this, we find something that we're really passionate about. Now, I'm going to do that 2 of Swords. I'm going to 3-card that because I'm not digging that for our what we want to happen. I think we need to set a little bit more of an intention around this movement of Neptune backwards. We need to be keeping it on the inspired creative side and the compassionate side and not on the let's all succumb to mass psychosis, which is kind of what it feels like. All right, 2 of Swords. Let's see. I'm going to do 3 cards on what we're not seeing and then what to do about it. So, yeah, what we're not seeing and how to respond in a more mature way, right? That's the problem with Aries energy. It has all the strength and power of youth, but not the maturity of age. Gotta have both, man. Balanced Aries is very powerful, very exciting, very sexy. So 6 cards, what we're not seeing and what we need to do, our manifestation, our intention around this retrograde cycle. All right, what we're not seeing. The Star, we're not seeing how there are things to be hopeful and optimistic about. 9 of Pentacles, we're not seeing that we are empowered to make the choices that we need to. We're not seeing how negative thinking or patterns is causing problems for us, the Devil. Yeah, wow. What do we need to do? 8 of Cups, interesting. This card was also in the spread for the Isis Lotus. So what we need to do is walk away from some things that aren't working. 6 of Cups, we need to return to our former ideals and what we really wanted out of life. 6 of Pentacles. And then we need to put our money where our mouth is. We have to withdraw our energy for something, put it towards our goal, and then pour energy into it. So this is, I think, suggesting more of an empowered approach to this Neptune retrograde. It can feel very... Neptune has this magnetism for the collective that can feel very out of control. And I would think it has a lot to do with this sense of impending doom with war and fighting and things like that. We have to withdraw our energy from that and put it into what we want. So put it into the more intuitive, the more sensitive, the more caring, the more loving. You're the microcosm of the macro. You are... your life and orbit and focus is reflective of the world. And so if you can redirect your energy and create your orbit to be a peaceful, loving space, that does ripple out. Okay, it really does. So, all right. Wishing you a marvelous week, my friend. Namaste. Ciao.